those two cherub-like faces appearing on your screens. Good afternoon, one and all. We are back and we are live, and it's Friday and it's 4. And hello, Reverend Tony. How the dickens are you?
We're back, baby. I'm very well, thank you. Very well. Tired, stressed,
Yes.
but very, very well. Very well, thank you.
Absolutely. And for those that do not have a clue what that is in relation to, all I'm going to say is the one word you never thought you would hear come from my mouth: puppies.
Yes, we have puppies.
Ah,
We had 9, but unfortunately we lost 2. They were underdeveloped, and Pip just didn't have enough resource to nurture them. So we unfortunately lost 2, but we've got 7 really chunky, fluffy puppies.
oh,
And they are just too cute.
oh, and the family just groweth. The family increaseth. It's lovely. Oh,
So
I'm so pleased for all 3 of you. Yeah, that's probably going to be an interesting question to come to in a minute. In actual fact, let's kick off with that one. Have you named them all?
We've had to, because they are registered with the Kennel Club. So you've got to give them a Kennel Club name. So we went, I don't know if anybody's ever seen the show Sense8 on Netflix. Well, we've used their character names and things and jiggled them up. And so we've got a Riley Blue. We have a Capheus.
Fantastic.
We've got an Amanita Sun.
Wow.
So, yes, it's cool. And they are so cute.
Just watch the ones named after Freema Agyeman and Brian J. Smith. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. We've even got a Leto.
Oh, wow. That is wonderful. If anyone hasn't watched Sense8,
lock your children up first.
Lock your children up, especially if they have watched...
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's brilliant. I instantly became obsessed by it because it was written by J. Michael Straczynski, who was, of course, the creator of Babylon 5. And so I instantly wanted to watch it. Plus, I'd seen Brian J. Smith in Stargate Universe.
Yes.
Plays a very different character who he is in real life, which was wonderful to see. And of course, Freema Agyeman plays a character very different to her character in Doctor Who 2.
Jones.
I'm going to say definitely not a Martha Jones there. It isn't for everyone. I will just say that quite cleanly and clearly. If you like it kept all clean and innocent. Sorry.
Yeah, it is a bit near the knuckle sometimes, and sometimes it's beyond the knuckle, nearly to the elbow. But the premise is a fantastic premise. I won't go into detail because it would spoil it, but it's amazing.
Yes.
We must have watched the whole thing about 4 times now, and I never get tired of it.
No, exactly. So if you've got a strong disposition for reality of life, and interested in the spookiness of life, and there's the live feed.
Yeah, we've got a spy cam downstairs, and that's them. They are. Yeah, yes, I agree, Michael. Brian J. Smith.
Yes, yes.
Anyway,
on that note,
how are you feeling now, sir?
I'm feeling much better, especially after that conversation. Yes, I'm feeling much better, thank you. It was ridiculously uncomfortable and frustrating and draining. These things do catch you out, but you do have to learn to balance things, and I certainly very quickly learned to just take a bit of a chill pill and a bit of a time out. I'm probably not perfect at that yet, but it was an enforced vacation. So thank you all for your healing and your kind thoughts. I'll be honest, I'm not 100% still. I do get a little bit woozy, and it is still buzzing around the house. but I'm much better than I was. And I will just say a little bit of a boost came in the post the other day from the lovely Carol, who sent me this wonderful, wonderful gift.
Gorgeous.
So it's for anyone who's interested in crystals and stones and that sort of thing. It is a moldavite, which it was formed 15 million years ago by the impact of a meteor into the area that is now known as Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic, and it is unique to that area. And because I've been obsessing about emeralds and green stones lately, Carol decided that this one was for me. But she made one for all of us in that circle. So unique to our personality, she did an amazing job. So that was a bit of a pick me up. And yes, so thank you. I'm feeling much better now.
Look, you were included in my distant healing book, which is available on Amazon.
Apparently so.
Yes, available on Amazon.
Available on Amazon, right next to because I've got this ready to send to someone, right next to this little puppy, in Spiritulations, which not only has space for you to fill in stuff of your own thoughts, it does have the occasional spiritual thought along the way to guide and inspire, should you so wish. And yes, Kaza was one of the ones that received the gifts, plural, because she didn't just send these, she sent other stuff too. I've got to say, I went to a church a few years ago and fell in love with this little puppy, which is green fluorite, and it now has a brother. It now has a brother, so they sit together now. And I have never ever seen a double occlusion amethyst before.
That is stunning. Amethyst, of course, because it's purple.
Yes, absolutely.
And yet, I've got black.
Yes, but actually, ironically, that's what this looks, because you wouldn't think it until you shine light on it. That's actually a green and obsidian collection there. But until you shine the light through it, it does look black. So, Cherry's got both books. Jen says, I've got the little book with the blonde guy, which is a lovely notebook.
Oh dear.
And it's only just been recently revealed to a number of people that is an artist impression of one of my guides that I picked up along the way.
Oh, cool.
Hello, Jason. Good to see you. Naughty boy. I like it. It's going to be one of those days, I think, Tony, isn't it?
I think it's going to be a little bit cheeky and naughty today.
I love it.
We started it, of course, talking about Sense8.
Yes, absolutely did. Let's say hello.
Yes, let's go back to the top.
Right back to that very first hello there with the all systems go. I think YouTube was playing up a little bit today because it didn't come until after the clock had counted down, and I know how key this one is to keep us on track.
Yes.
But hello, Kaza.
Hello, Trace. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining.
And obviously there's Mother asking about Das Puppies, who's been on live stream. Is that their first live stream?
That's their first live stream.
Oh,
yes. Yes. They're lovely at the minute. They just lie there and get fed and wriggle about. But of course, in a couple of weeks' time, they're going to have their feet and eyes will be open. We'll be chasing the little darlings everywhere.
I'll keep you on your toes.
Yes. Hello, Jen. Good afternoon to you as well.
And Lisa Hunt's in the house with us all. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Justine.
Hello, sweetie. We should really say hello. We should.
Yes, really to Michael, who's at the moment lying behind me. We may hear snoring shortly because he's turned on his side.
Oh, bless him. The joys of parenthood.
Yeah. I've got a nice glass to throw at him.
Absolutely brilliant. The spirituality of it all.
Yes.
Had to bring that up.
Yeah. And the eyelashes.
And the lashes too. There
And the
we
lashes.
go.
Yeah.
See, this is the Irish. This is just literally me all over. I actually thought that was your natural eyelashes. I just thought you were blessed.
No.
There's a name we know.
Yes, Neil. Hello, dear.
Hello, matey. And of course,
Cheyenne.
bonsoir, mon ami.
Yes. Where are we? Jason.
We did briefly say hello, but we've got to do it the formal way too, because
yes.
Jason.
Hello, Jason.
And Teresa Clark, hugs from Scotland.
Oh, and Crystal Elizabeth, double darlings.
Oh,
hello,
indeed.
dear.
And Christine Lenton, hello, see you on Sunday. Say little darlings with a straight face and through.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Oh, Terry and Eunice.
How could you get his name wrong?
Terry? Where did I get Terry from?
Where did you get Terry from? Thinking of changing your name, dear?
Tony and Eunice.
Oops. He won't mind at all. Bless his heart.
Where's Terry come from?
Are you picking someone up? Is there a Terry? Is there a Terry? I mean, we've had a Teresa. We've had a Teresa,
yeah. I don't know.
It's life, innit?
Yeah.
I think you're allowed being a parent of 9.
Yes.
7, obviously, but
No,
9.
9. Yeah.
It's 9. It's 9 because they'll be about.
They will. I've no doubt. And Jan, hello, dear.
Hi. And hello to Ivy. Good afternoon, my lovely.
Hi, Debbie. How are you, my love?
Hey. Good to see you.
Debbie's a relative.
Oh, hello, relative. Hello,
yes.
Hello, Debbie. How good to see you, Debbie.
She's my sister's step granddaughter, I believe. I think in some sort of convoluted fashion.
Yes, I follow that.
Yes.
Do you know what? It's a habit that I've got into. Can't help but salute too. Oh God, I've just seen a comment there that is so true.
Yes. I'm sure Tony's been called far worse from Eunice. Laugh out loud.
Do you know what? It's funny actually, because we do have these wonderful conversations after church on a Thursday night, and me and Eunice, we do tend to get locked into these rather deep and meaningful conversations, even though Tony's got the keys in his hand and the bags in his hand and has got his hand on the door ready to go, and then we just go into this loop and start another conversation, and he's like, right, I'll go and give your mother some candy and sit down with them. And there's your confirmation.
Yes, he has.
There's your confirmation. There we go. But it's good to see you all. Welcome one and all. And if you haven't said hello, feel free to. You can. This is a free for all. Throw it in. Go for it. Chat. And we do very much take our lead from conversations with you guys as to where we go with the next hour or so. It is very much about what's on your mind, your thoughts, your directions. Yes, we tend to start the conversation off as we do with Brian J. Smith and Sense8.
Yes.
Let's just take a moment to think about that for a second. But you are but you are the ones that lead the conversation, so feel free if there's anything that's been popping up on your feed or popping up in your brain and popping up in your soul over the last few weeks that we haven't been with you because of my inability to keep my head 3 feet above the ground, then feel free to throw it into the mix.
I would like to just wonder what people think of what we were talking about before we went live about the push to modernize, refresh, revisit the 7 principles of spiritualism, because whilst I think they're a solid foundation and I like them the way they are, the language is a little bit telling. And I just wondered what other people thought about it, because if they don't change the fundamental meaning behind the principles, I'm all for it. Revisit the language. I mean, they've redone the Lord's Prayer. They've made that more up to date. You know, I've been in many churches where it's not "Our Father who art in heaven," it's "Our Father in heaven." You know.
Yes. Yes.
Or people think it is time to throw them all out and start again. That's a perfectly valid opinion as well.
Absolutely, and it is about opinion. I think it all falls down from my perspective. I think it all falls down when one opinion is valued higher than another. You know, some things will never change and some things don't change, but at least have a conversation about it. I mean, we are very fortunate from our perspective, really, that we're not locked in to the original wording, and you're back though, darling. Whatever you've done, you've fixed it, because you've just come up, sweetie. Well done, Jen, for trying to help out with that one. Good girl. But yeah, it seems like it's working now. Could have just been a glitch or a bad signal. But you're speaking out loud now. Yay.
Yes.
But for me, it is all about. See, there are many different and varied views. For me, I think they are of use, but I think we put perhaps a little bit too much emphasis on them because of the history of them. They are only, after all, a summary of something that came before, through the trance mediumship of the Golden Chain with Emma Hardinge Britten. And I think, you know, for me, the last 2 of each set, there were these very old-fashionedly written, of course, because it was Victorian times. They were of the time. The very last 2 of each of them really sum them up and underpin them. And that is, of course, that where love is shown and expressed, all other principles are fulfilled. And, you know, I've got to come to Jason's comment. Throw them all out. Most of them were plagiarized from Helena Blavatsky anyway. Not only that, but if you look at the wording and look at the direction of them, a lot of different groupings and religious opinions have plagiarized them too. And you know, I'm sure that they were not entirely original from Helena, with no disrespect to her, because her spirit guides would have worked with her to, you know, transmute that message. The point is, the message is always the same. Just be bloody nice to each other. Get over it. And just be kind, you know. And I think so long as we remember that one, all of the other principles are fulfilled. And I think, you know, there are only so many times we can, per se, rewrite the same message. But I certainly think the language should be of the day.
Yes.
Because in 200 years' time, the language that we use is going to make no blooming sense to the people that are speaking it. You know, and I'm with you. I see the validity. I see the realism in them, but only by that original phrase that was always attached to them, that is no longer, with liberty of interpretation.
Yeah. I actually agree with Jason's 2 principles that he's just put up. It absolutely, it harks back to what one of Claire Lillica's twins said to me about the Bible, but it's lots of different books all bound together with hundreds and hundreds of pages, and all it says is stop being a Richard.
Yes.
Don't be a Richard to each other.
Absolutely. And you know what? That one has been completely lost. That is actually the description that the spirit, the energy, the life force, as I was given to say today, that that was speaking to Moses. Right. I will just briefly mention this. It could be that you're both coming from a different feed.
Yes.
Because there is Tony's feed, my feed, the church feed, the group feed, which is obviously /groups/2 Revs. If you guys are not on the same feed, you will not see each other's comments unless we share them up here. So work out which one that you're on, each of you, and decide if you want to see each other's comments before we share them. Then obviously come in from the same feed.
Yes.
That is one of the drawbacks of StreamYard. Let me stop that. So going back to the I am, that's what Yahweh means in Hebrew. I am that I am. I exist. So when it was asked, who are you? It was just saying it didn't matter. An identity is irrelevant. I'm beyond identity. Oh, bless her. I know Facebook, babe, but which page on Facebook is it? My feed? Is it Tony's feed? So it's profile or group.
Yeah. It's not mine because it's not linked.
Yes, there is no link. So it could be that you're either coming in from my Facebook page or the church page. Yeah, it's right. So basically, if everyone's watching from different places, you won't necessarily see what everyone else is commenting until we share it.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go.
Jen's watching on yours.
Yes. But if you've come in from the church feed, or if you've come in from the Two Revs group feed, you won't necessarily see. What it is that others are saying until we share it. It also means I am that I am, meaning God is within, and whatever God is expressing itself through. Absolutely, but that it was taken as a name rather than a description, and when used as a description, which is exactly how you're using it, it makes a lot more sense.
Yes.
Because it's not a this is my name, this is who I am, this is what I am, I just exist, get over it, deal with it, live with it. I is beyond the human need for an image and a name. I don't need them because I am everything. I simply exist and am part of everything. So I'm well and truly with you.
I am.
Literally.
And I do feel that a lot of people could benefit from remembering that. If we treat everybody with that frame of mind, they are what they are.
Yeah.
Life would be jolly.
Certainly would, and I feel a song coming on. And as you mentioned about a book, and I just want to do a very brief demonstration. This is something they showed me the other day, and I just want to use this as an example, really, as to what we tend to forget about this one individual book, because it's not one individual book, it's two. It is two. This is the Jewish Talmud, basically. This is the Hebrew scripture. The Old Testament is what is the Jewish Bible, basically. This is the New Testament, that which followed 3,000 or 4,000 years later. If I were to come along and pick up a copy of Harry Potter and remove the last 4 chapters, or decide to add another 4 chapters myself, I'd get in big trouble for that.
Mm.
But this is exactly what we've done with that thing. So, you know, we must remember that it's not one book on its own per se, that it is actually an addition to, a continuation of. And let's face it, Joshua Carpenter was never setting up Christianity. He was trying to fix his own religion, which was Judaism.
Yeah, he was trying
or at the very
say,
least the people within it, you know.
Yeah, he was just trying to say this ain't working as it stands at the minute. There's profiteering, there's, you know, all sorts going on within Judaism, and it needs to stop. He wasn't saying, I am forming a brand new religion at all. Which, and actually, it's the Bible's lots of books, because it's the book of John, Peter.
Absolutely.
It's lots of bits stitched together. Well, the New Testament
absolutely
is. So,
and
anyway.
a lot of them are actually not even books. A lot of the books are actually just a group of letters.
Yeah.
Like the epistles literally means the letters of.
The letters of. The letters
so
to.
You know.
Yeah. Corinthians, it was the letters to the Corinthians.
And as and I will stop talking about the Bible in a second, I promise. But I think people will probably like this one. That one at the back that everyone gets so irate and worked up about.
Oh yeah.
The guy who translated it all into English the first time round and decided what the order is, he actually put it at the back because he didn't like it, and he didn't even want it to be in there in the first place. So, you know, when it comes to the work of Martin Luther, nice try, mate. Thank you very much for at least the attempt. So there we are. But yeah, but what does everybody else think about those principles? Does I would say, does it really matter? I think there should be something as a guiding lantern that says who we are collectively. But I don't feel that it should be so hardline that if you don't follow it, you're stuffed. You're not one of us. That kind of thing really bugs me.
I did see an interesting meme on Facebook this morning, and it was 2 guys talking in front of the gates of hell. And one guy says to the other, when you think about it, if you need the concept of hell to make you a good person, you're just a bad person on a lead.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I thought, yeah, that's almost like the word tolerate. It's like, yes. I'm putting up with you, but it's because I look like a bit of a pillock if I don't.
Yeah. I do recall being part of a corporate video for a certain petroleum company where I made a bit of a speech about the difference between tolerance and acceptance.
Yes.
And so that is always a really, really big difference. And it certainly carries a lot more weight. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little bit like that. If you need a big stick to make you a good person, then you're just a bad person on a leash. Yes.
Yeah. See, whenever I speak of that particular principle, I actually reword it automatically now anyway, to reward and consequence, because consequence is a lot more appropriate for my view of the spirit world than retribution, because consequences are very real and tangible, but don't have to be hardline, you know, brutalistic and rough. but we all know that there are consequences for our actions, whether that be, making best effort to fix it, apologizing, saying sorry, saying, I didn't mean that. There are consequences to every action, absolutely. But I don't think that retribution reflects the love of God. But that is a beautiful comment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a bit like the Ten Commandments, isn't it? It's a framework of these are good behaviors.
Yeah.
This is what we aspire to. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think to shut down healthy debate about it is not worthy of the spiritualist movement.
No. It's not. And comments like, well, you're only changing them because you want to make them all inclusive and include everybody, and that's not what it's about. It's like, actually it is.
Yeah.
Spiritualism is all about inclusion. I mean, what's our strapline there, Nick?
It certainly absolutely is unity through individuality, and that is our strapline. Genuinely, 2 years. It's really strange to think that we sat down 2 years ago, 2 years ago to reword the 7 principles and come up with that strapline of individuality through unity and unity through individuality. And you know what? I love that. If anyone is a student of the Hebrew language, as is a young lady who at the time worked in Oxford University, and is now actually, I believe, very senior in the NRSV transliteration committee, you would know that the words used in scripture to describe God were genderless nouns and pronouns. It always was without gender.
Yeah.
We added gender meaning because, it's World Woman Day. Certain people,
yes.
It certainly is. Certain people wanted to keep the ladies under control and keep them down and prevent them from having a voice. And I've always been surrounded by strong-willed women, and I've never understood that concept because I know Mum's watching and she's a strong-willed woman in herself. I'm surrounded by strong-willed women in my circles, for crying out loud. But would anyone have told Harriet Hall what to do? Gosh, no. My great-grandmother, she was strong-willed, stubborn, determined, powerful in her own right, and she made some great nursery rhymes. I mean, I cannot sit with a straight face anytime I hear the words "the boy stood on the burning deck," especially the one about the tuppenny walls. You'd have to go back in way big time to understand what a tuppenny is, but a tuppenny walls, absolutely indeed. And so I have absolutely no comprehension of how anyone can feel that keeping women under the cosh is a good idea, because that's definitely going to come back and bite you on the backside, especially with Harriet Hall's. And all of the females in my family, I'm very much a huge fan of equity and equality, and I've never really understood how it could be any other. But I can see we're getting a lot of support for that.
Yes.
But it's absolutely true that the language was genderless. The language was genderless.
Yeah.
And welcome, Reverend Ashley. Hello, sweetie.
Hello, Ashley. Yeah, I mean, spirit has no gender. It's energy. It's pure energy. So how can it have a gender? But there we are.
Absolutely. But do you know what the biggest problem in gender is? the A one, agenda, as in agenda.
Yes, yes.
We should be worried more about agendas, less about agenda per se. But there you go. Just a thought there. I don't know whether.
Yes, yeah. But we're in an election year now, so we're going to see a lot of agendas coming out.
And you know what? That's the sad part. I truly am looking forward to the input from our ascended minister in spirit, Reverend Alan, when it comes throughout the next year, because he was so deeply filled with the courage of convictions of a political nature.
Yes.
And I just a small anecdote there. I recall a conversation he had online with someone where he would not let go. And I have to admit it was hilarious, because I said to him, "You do realise that he's baiting you?" He says, "Yeah, I do. I'm still gonna have my bloody say, you know."
Yeah.
And it was just typical Alan.
Yes. Jason's comment.
That one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, people are people. Unity through individuality. Hello.
Absolutely. I mean, I recall very strongly, and yes, Eunice, absolutely a wonderful mentor, Reverend Alan, gorgeous human. Just don't talk politics with him, for God's sake. I learned that very quickly. But yeah, that whole time in the lockdown, where we really started doing stuff like this in the first instance.
Yes.
And I did a lot of conversations with the Rainbow Project, and the thing that I found, and please let me finish my statement before you judge it, I found it absolutely horrific that there were trans people saying to me things like, "What you're saying is actually making sense to me, and I can finally find a home in religion." It shouldn't have waited for someone like me to say something that would make people feel that way.
No.
But the honest truth is, it was that situation.
Yeah.
And you're very kind, darling. But this is my rule. You recognise the qualities in people, regardless of gender. And you know what? Equality means forget about it. You know, it's irrelevant. Thou art which thou art. You know what? I'm not perfect. There are occasions when I've misgendered someone. I used to do it in the shop all the time. Would you like to come forward, madam? And realise that bloke in front of me was actually just someone who was slightly effeminate looking, and vice versa. It's easy to misgender people, not because of their chosen gender. You know, I know of someone very close to me who was accused of going into the wrong lavatory just because she was wearing a hoodie and jeans.
Yeah.
And that's where we've come to.
Yeah.
Because of the constant bouncing around of negative attitudes towards this concept and that concept, that idea and that idea. And it does fuel hate, and we should be very consciously aware that we are very easily swept into a whirlwind that is completely irrelevant. Interesting.
I was just sending you a private message about that one, because I wanted to dig deep on that one, because I feel quite strongly about that. So, yeah.
Well, in that case, I will just say, absolutely agree. You should look at the inside, not the surface. Totally agree.
Yeah.
So, Tony,
I think as ministers, we shouldn't espouse political view or encourage political view. However, as we discussed on one of our shows a few weeks or months ago, there comes a time where you've got to say, hang on, enough is enough. This, what you're espousing now, is pure hatred towards a minority group. And we can't do that. We can't stay quiet.
Quite
when
right.
history is starting to repeat itself. And Jason, yes, I have seen those posts on Facebook and Insta and all the other ones. There is no place in spiritualism for me with people of that mindset, because spiritualism is about the spirit within, which has no race, has no gender, has no sexuality, has no... I saw those posts as well, and I know which president you're talking about. And there is no place in spiritualism for those sort of attitudes, in my humble opinion. People within spiritualism, yes, feel free to be as political as you wish to be. But when you take on the role of a minister, I think you've got to sort of take that higher approach. I don't mean higher in a better sense. I mean...
elevated away.
Yes, because it's not our place to impose our views on other people.
Absolutely.
But when hatred is being spouted off the benches of the Houses of Commons, it's time to stand up and say, whoa, hang on a minute. Yeah. Which we did in quite a vocal and intense show. It'll be on catch up if you want to watch it. It was quite...
honest.
Yes. Nick was unleashed and unmuzzled.
You know, people think that it happens all the time, but it really, really doesn't when you see what I said that day. You know, I am extremely restrained for the most part until I see injustice, and then I will unleash the beast. Yeah. I agree with you, Tony, with one minor caveat, which is exactly the same as what you've said, but just to kind of clarify, really. Is it about quantity, not nationality? Yes, I see exactly what you're saying there. Absolutely. When it comes to politics, for me, one of the first things that I was told was, oh, you've chosen that side, have you? In reference to me becoming a minister. And I said, what do you mean that side? Well, you should never mix religion and politics. And I'm like, I've heard this before, and I absolutely disagree with it. And you're absolutely right. We shouldn't enforce our political views on people, but they do go hand in hand, because as ministers of either side, we have a responsibility for the pastoral care and the looking out for and looking after those under our care and remit. And so politically, we should speak when we see something that is detrimental to
absolutely.
The needs of those that we are responsible for. We shouldn't be afraid of touching on political issues if they fall within our remit. And certainly unity, compassion, and kindness is one of those things. And if we see it, we definitely should call it out. And I'm reminded, Babylon 5 quote. I can't help it. I'm sorry. Babylon 5 quote. Just a very, very brief one. There was a race of aliens in Babylon 5 called the Minbari, and their governing body was called the Grey Council. It was 9 individuals, 3 from each of their different caste systems. There was the worker, religious, and warrior, and they were kept in balance. Now, I've mentioned before about my concern about balance and how sometimes we've got the idea of balance wrong. This is a perfectly beautiful paradigm of that, because there was 3 religious, 3 worker, 3 warrior. So they were all kept in balance by equal authority over. When there was a civil war, the Grey Council was reformed, but was reformed differently, because the civil war was between the religious and the warrior caste, isn't it always? Mm-hmm. When they reformed the Grey Council, they had 2 religious and 2 warrior and 4 worker. Because as the quote was this: you'd forgotten about the worker caste, hadn't you? They're the ones that build the ships that you fight in and the churches we pray in. All they want to do is build a better future for all of us. And now we will give them that chance. Because religion and war, or in this instance, religion and politics, should work in service of the people, not the other way round. And that's always sat with me. And it really is important because it ties in with what Jen has just said. Do you not think the media is peddling the fear to people, making them react this way? Absolutely. There is a huge amount of that involved. And sadly, the media is no longer on its own because it's got a beautiful bedfellow in terms of social media.
Yes.
Because social media has become an extension of what is perceived as news. You can share things that aren't necessarily true, that feeds into that hysteria. And I've actually seen the media share social media posts as truth without fact checking it first. And so I would say that we need to include religion, politics, and the media as things that should be in service of the people, not the other way round.
Yes.
And it has absolutely become too far the opposite of that. So I do agree with you, Jen, completely.
Yes, absolutely. Because for me, what I have seen over the 50-something years I've been on this planet is politics and religion working in its own self-interest, rather than representing the people they are there to serve and represent, which is like, what's going on? It's ridiculous. Because for me, to my own detriment sometimes, the service I've promised to give in my life comes first.
Yeah.
And, you know, my wants and needs sometimes take a back seat because that person over there is in a far worse state than I am. So let's get them sorted and then I can look after me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all for the support on what we've just said, by the way. Tracy, hope you're doing well. Glad to see that you're doing very well and recovering from your surgery. You're forgiven for being late for that end. Just catching up. I love this quote: "A leader leads by example, not by force." And Jan has to go. Lovely seeing you too. Be good. Be safe. A leader leads by example. There's always one of the things that you get in retail as a manager are varying different views about where you should lead from. Lead from the back, lead from the front. I preferred to lead from the middle. Because those that are around you that are stronger can keep the momentum up whilst you're supporting those that need a little bit more assistance. So a true leader knows where to position themselves and not be stuck in one particular place, but exactly not by force. And it is absolutely about by example.
It is.
And I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Jen, I don't know which incident you're talking about there, Jen, but that sounds atrocious.
Yes.
I never thought I'd read about a group of people attacking a shop because they sold Coca-Cola, which was made by Jews, apparently. Reminds me of the stuff before. There's a lot of stuff that's ringing alarm bells with me at the minute, Jen, to be honest, that is harking back to that sort of rhetoric when you talk about an invasion of a particular race of people and you talk about them in terms of dehumanizing them and objectifying. And there's a lot of that sort of rhetoric coming out at the moment from lots of different areas of society, but it's just something we have to be aware of.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And this is a very, very sad truth. This is a very sad truth. Institutions are not inherently bad, i.e.
No,
politics and religion.
it's the people.
Yes. And it is about ownership of idea and opinion, and ownership and control on people. I know full well, I mean, I know some people say about I have a certain style when it comes to doing what I do within the Alliance on a Thursday night and then all the other stuff I do. And I know people mention certain things about my style of work. What I will say on that is that I know full well that if I became an authoritarian figure within the work that I do, I wouldn't have anybody left.
No.
And I never would anyway, don't get me wrong. But, you know, that's the joy I've got with the people that are around me, because they are individual, free-spirited, free-thinking people that have courage of their convictions, the ability to emote what it is that they feel, and the strength to actually do so, knowing that they are also surrounded by people that will actually listen to their opinion rather than judge it, and actually learn from each other. And that is the core of what I do. We can all learn from each other because we are all I ams. We are all part of that grand tapestry. And a tapestry is not one thing. A tapestry is made up of various different threads weaved in a certain way to paint a bigger picture. And so long as we remember that, we realize that if one thread is pulled out, that picture is broken. And we cannot allow ourselves to be separated. Otherwise, the tapestry falls apart. You know, you've only got to pull out a few threads on that tapestry. And not only can you not see the picture, it completely unravels. Yeah. And that's what we need to promote as spiritualists, that we are all individual threads in a beautiful big picture. In other words, individuality and unity as one.
Yeah. And what Jason's put harks back to what we said earlier about it's those people in charge of these institutions, i.e. politics and religion, serving their own self-interest and self-position.
Yes.
That causes the issue when they're not looking out at the people they're meant to be serving. They're looking at what's best for them. That's where it gets a bit dangerous.
Yeah. And it's absolutely right. We seem to not learn from our historical mistakes.
No.
And we never do. We
no,
as a collective, we certainly do. I think that there's a lot more understanding and realization, but it still doesn't seem to have the impact that it should. No, and that's because every time there's an awakening of a collective of souls, the tools that combat that seem to grow at the same rate, if not faster. With media and social media and the ability to emote negativity and separation. As I think I can't see where it is now. I just tried to have a quick look. I saw a comment from Eunice a little while ago about how things are done that separate people, but it's the way it's said, you know, and it's the way it's done, and that there is certain inequalities in what's being said as well, and it's how that information is communicated can make a major difference. If I were to turn around and say, you know, right, okay, we have got we've got an even, we haven't really got an even split of males and females in our church. It's very feminine based, as I said earlier, completely surrounded by tough women. You know, but if I were to say, right, okay, so today we are going to focus wholly on the women. Men, you know, sit at the back, shut up. I'd get it in the neck. But if I were to say, right, everybody, guys, come over here, you guys and me, we're going to sit here and we're going to talk about the fact that today is World Woman Day. It's inclusion. Bringing everyone into it, and how we do stuff, how we deal with things, how we focus on these particular issues very much reflects not only the outcome of those conversations, but how those conversations are welcomed or not in the first place. And so there is a way to talk about specifics without excluding people if we just make an effort. And I think that for me is where it all lies in. Sometimes it's too easy, and it's the easier option to exclude people and push people out.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's the most complex, convoluted, and failure ridden direction to go, because anything worthwhile is never easy.
No, it's not. It's not. Lots and lots of comment. Hi, Clara. Agreeing with us and putting their 2 penneth in, which is fabulous to see. I love it.
The more 2 penneths get added soon enough, we have a quid, and there'll be plenty of Tuppenny Walls to go around then.
Yeah. Tracy Oxborough, everyone says be kind on social media, then look at Caroline Flack, she was hounded. It's so easy to do that when it's impersonal, because there's a screen in front of you and a keyboard, and you can write what you want and it doesn't matter. But always think, would I say that to that person if I was face to face with them?
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. So the words are going to have exactly the same impact.
Bravo. I do. Thank you, Dol. Well done. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. At the rate of inflation, gonna need more than a 2 pence to make a quid. Well, you know,
we'll never get to the quid.
Yeah. You know, but you know, if there's enough of us throwing in our 2 pence, then absolutely we'll have a quid.
Yes.
Because when we collectively put that all together, and you know what? I'm quite happy to share my Tuppenny Walls with anyone who hasn't got enough.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
In more ways than one. We are running out of time, and I did star a comment that I'd like. So I know we are going to kind of change we are going to change the paradigm a little bit. Crystal Elizabeth, if we get a chance, can you tell me anything about portals, pretty please? So just a little bit of a change of the debate, just to get that in, because a really, really good question, and I think it's very worthy of debate. But thank you all so much for your thoughts and discussions. And you know what? I think
excuse me.
Yeah, I love that. We to kind of like put a Tony bow in that. I think if we listen to each other and learn from each other, we realize that we're all not that different in the first place. Okay, we are going to get in big trouble soon. Excellent.
We are.
Bring it on. So portals.
Back to portals.
Reverend Swindles, portals, everyone at home,
portals.
And I will say this because I'm very much aware of someone watching. Eunice, portals.
Portals.
Your thoughts, Reverend Tony?
Portals for me are where the spirit world and our world come really close together and touch, and energy can move backwards and forwards through a portal, which is just where the ethers come together, if you like. And I've seen these programs on whatever channel where this demon came through a portal with its red eyes and its claws and talons, and no, it's just a place where spirit can move freely backwards and forwards between this realm and the other. I've been in places where there have been portals and just said a prayer to close them, and 9 times out of 10 it's been fine and everything's been hunky-dory. But sometimes I always say an evil spirit in quotations for me is it's a grumpy person. If people were grumpy this side of life, then they're going to be grumpy that side of life, and you know that's what you feel. It's somebody expressing the fact that they're frustrated, they're angry, they're anxious. And I always say, if you've got somebody like that in your, or an energy like that in your property, what would you say if they were a living person? You would just, excuse me, pack it in or leave. And that's what we do. We just say, enough of that, crack on. What's everybody else's thought on portals and things like that? Because it's an interesting concept. I mean, a lot of people say mirrors are portals, windows can be portals, but I don't think portals need a physical thing to be active. They are just where the realms are coming rather close together, and it makes it easier for spirit to come backwards and forwards. If you do feel like there is a portal in your property, wherever it be, home, work, school, whatever, just try just saying a prayer and closing it, or just ask for it to be closed. I do, Jason, because it's not a bigger thing as you see on your Most Haunteds and America's Hauntings and things like that. And the concept of evil and good and evil in terms of spirit, for me, every time I've been somewhere where they said, oh, I feel I've got an evil spirit in my house, I've gone, and it's just some grumpy sod who's a bit knocked about something and is throwing things around in a tantrum. It ain't a growly thing with eyes and horns and talons and, you know, no.
Yeah. Oh, bless you.
In
Yeah,
my opinion.
I agree. I had a portal experience when I was developing medium. Bit strange, but I remember that actually. And this is really I completely agree. Sorry, I had to nip away. But I was still listening, and I totally agree, especially about the grumpy gits. And sometimes the best way to appease someone who's grumpy is find out why. And usually it's because they're being ignored. There are certain elements within the fabric of the universe where there are natural holes, and some of them are supposed to be there and some of them aren't, and you can deal with each accordingly. But if you look at the concept of a portal, of this whirring swirling energy, and you know, like a wormhole or a spinning of energy, if you look at the way water goes through a plug hole, that plug hole, that portal is supposed to be there because that's where that energy is being either siphoned off or siphoned in. And it's just about recognizing that.
I love the example Jason's just given. That is beautiful. Let me read it through.
Yeah.
Jason had a lady who said she was being attacked. He asked her to explain what it's doing, and she says it throws the remote at me. I asked her, how often has it hit you with the remote? And she said, never. It says, I pointed out, darling, you're in a wheelchair. The remote flies across the room and lands next to you. That's not an attack, that's support.
Yes, bravo. Do you know what? He's got a really good point there. Absolutely. We interpret things as negative. I remember once I was invited to do, well, let's word it how it was originally worded. I need you to come and do an exorcism. I don't do that. Yeah, Clara, I'm the same. It would make life easier if my remote did that. They believed they were being attacked, and there was other things going on in that household, which I won't go into. But it was that spirit person trying to support them. And there was this one, she said, it pushed me over. And I said, okay, did you? Well, no, ask them about the hovering. So I said, "Do you remember something about hovering?" Well, yeah, it was like time slowed down as it pushed me over. As I was about to hit the floor, it felt like I sort of like paused briefly, and when I landed, it didn't hurt. And I said, "You slipped over, they broke your fall." And it's how we interpret these situations,
Mm.
and it is as we was just speaking a little while ago, it can very much be human nature to err towards the darker side, when in actual fact there are absolutely times when it's support interpreted as attack, and where it's interpreted as dark and evil when it's grumpiness. And we all get a bit grumpy sometimes. You've only got to look back on a few of these feeds where I get grumpy.
Yeah,
um,
mate.
you know, but it's absolutely determining which is supposed to be there and which is not supposed to be there. If we are all about the energy of the earth, there must be and let's face it, the earth is an organic living breathing being, so it must have some kind of phenomena, energetic force that's akin to a spirit. Come Sunday to the workshop for details. The spirit of the earth. Boom. There must be some kind of energetic soul within the earth, and there has to be ways naturally formed for that energy to pour in and recycle back out, and keep that cyclical. We said this right at the beginning. Cyclical symbiosis.
Mm-hmm.
We was talking about cycles and this cyclical flow of energy. As spiritual people, whether we call ourselves spiritualist, Christian spiritualists, or 59th day Adventists of the Hujamawopsits, whatever you call yourself, it's always about energy, and there must be some naturally, genuinely, appropriately forming ones, and some that that shouldn't. Accidental rips. You slip over the carpet and pull a tag out of it. Yeah, you might want to stitch that back in, but there's a hole in the carpet where the floor mat's supposed to be, because you don't want to get the carpet mucky underneath it. And it's that kind of thing for me. So I'm with you, and with what everyone else has been saying.
Yeah.
Sounds like something I caught as a late teen. I do love what Clara said. Quantum physics tells a lot. Totally right, Nick. The brain auto goes to the negative. Life is energy. Einstein and many physicists study quantum fields, metaphysics, a lot of science study. Oh, thank you, darling. I've been going off on one about quantum entanglement a lot. I won't, because I don't want to upset people, because I get very, very deep into it and lose people because I go off on a tangent. But yeah, quantum entanglement is absolutely a part of that. But yeah, I'm just loving I'm loving the conversation. Everyone's really getting into it, and
They are. It's fantastic.
You know what? It reinvigorates me and restores my hope in the future, because there are so many people out there, regardless of background or education or religion or knowledge of any particular variety, or faith and belief of any variety, that just want to be bloody nice.
Yes.
What's so wrong with that?
Exactly. And that's brought the whole Tony Bow again. It's about just be nice to each other. Stop being a pillock. That's all we need.
Do you know what? I think if Joshua Carpenter or Josephson, however you want to refer to him, had have said that, I think life would have been a lot easier over the last 2,000 years. But the sad truth is, in the language of the day, that's exactly what he said.
Yeah, all the translations just changed it into something else, and
it really is at the core of everything.
Clara, yes, I love that. Be kind and order your own house first before you judge others.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You go, girl.
Absolutely. It has been an absolute pleasure, and I hope you enjoyed that part, Crystal, because we did save your comment to have a bit of a chat about portals. And I hope you've all enjoyed us being back together again, all of us.
Yes, and
I
just
certainly have.
watch this space. There may be something exciting coming up in the next week or two, if we can get everything. Oh, Lisa.
Now here's the real Tony Bow.
Yeah, let me just see what's happening on the
And
live stream.
whilst you're going to the live feed, we did have the chat about portals, and so you can catch up. There is the live feed. There is the live feed of the daddy responsibilities. No, absolutely, and that's the joy of it all being recorded for posterity.
There's one wriggling to get underneath the bum. Look.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. Let me take myself.
Yeah. Puppies. We had 9. We've now got 7. But yeah, beautiful. I love them all. It's so cute.
And they called it puppy love. And I guess you're gonna know. So bless you, and absolutely, you look after them puppies, my dear.
I will do.
Brother.
I will do. I'm gonna pop downstairs and make sure she's eaten all of her scrambled eggs and cheese.
Yes, absolutely.
She's already sitting on the settee next to me, looking at them like, sort them out.
Absolutely. Are they cockapoos? What breed are they?
They are Bedlington Terriers, all the way from up north, from where I'm from. Like, oh, it's up on the northeast coast, and they don't cast their fur like cockapoos. You've got to clip them, but they are wickedly intelligent.
Absolutely. And yes, this is something someone in church asked me your origins last night, and I learned something. Jen, if you're still on, he's from up your way.
I am. I'm from the northeast, like, oh, from County Durham.
There you go. So
yes.
There we go. Small world, ain't it?
It's teeny tiny.
Let's do our best to make it smaller in attitude, in sense of larger in love. There she is. Yeah. So he's originally from your neck of the woods, love. And I only learned that. How long have we known each other? Crying out loud. But yes, we also need to go because Tony has a service.
I do.
And so we are going to be dapping out now. There you go. That's exactly the point I was trying to make. More laughter, less judgment.
Yeah. That's what we need.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Tony, for coming back on screen with me and forgiving me for abandoning you last week. And thank you all for joining us and forgiving me for abandoning you all last week. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend, a wonderful, wonderful week. But until next week, it's good night and God bless from him.
And it's good night from him.
At least you got
good
the
night,
right
everybody.
Word. Good night, God bless, and we'll see you all soon. May the grace, the Great Spirit go with you all. God bless.
Bye.